Welcome to Anime Real Talk, where we share our honest opinions on anime, Japan, news, and much more. It doesn't matter if you're new to anime, if you're a casual or a complete weeb. Join the conversation here. I'm your host, Russell, and I'm joined by...
Taha.
And ramen.
So, how are you guys feeling about today's recording? This is the first time we've done a recording from home.
Yeah, I'm hyped, man. This is the Halloween special.
Yay!
Come on.
Let's go. I mean, honestly, I don't feel any different. It's just that you guys aren't there present, like right in front of me when we're talking. We have to do this through like Discord, and we can see each other like through the video, but it doesn't feel as like bad because we've got our setup ready. So
Yeah.
it's just a lot more comfortable because I don't have to like take everything around. I'm just in my house.
Yeah,
sitting
Ramen's
recording.
just sitting there with his comfortable neck pillow on.
I do have my neck pillow on. What about you guys? How are you guys getting used to this new setup?
Yeah, it's okay. I think obviously it's a bit different, and for those listening, the reason that we're recording from home is because in the UK, London has been moved to a tier 2, meaning that we can't meet up due to coronavirus restrictions. So we've all bought recording software so that we can all call each other and record from home. So this is the first session.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
To
probably
be honest, I don't really mind it because I've been working from home for quite a while, so this feels like a natural transition. Just doing this from home now, and I'm just hyped for today's episode.
Yeah, it should be good.
yeah.
So, Halloween special. What are you guys thinking? What do you normally do for Halloween?
Well, I celebrate my birthday usually around this time. So like I usually
Yeah.
hold like for the last Tyler, is it like the last 2 or 3 years that we've been doing like a Halloween party kind of thing
Yeah.
for my
So
birthday, right?
yeah, your birthday normally falls like a week before Halloween, right?
Yeah, like literally a week before.
Yeah, and I think most of the parties are around that weekend, the week before.
Yeah, because Halloween
So
usually like for the last 2 years at least has been falling on weekdays rather than weekends.
yeah, so I normally dress up a bit.
Oh, okay. What's your
Actually,
go-to?
no, not dress up, face paint.
Yeah, he
So you're
usually just
lazy.
face paints. Yeah.
So you're just lazy. That's what that
To be
means.
honest, I think the face paint suits me more, and I
Okay.
don't really cosplay or dress up. And I normally go for like a skeleton look or like a undead
Okay.
zombie look. But
Nice.
Ramen's cosplay last year was sick.
What did you go as, Ramen?
I went as what's that character's name from Tokyo Ghoul? You know the one that has like the cuts all over his hand, and he
Oh,
has
I
the
can't
suspenders
remember.
on. Wait,
He's got
I'm
like a
gonna.
massive scythe.
I really
Yeah.
can't remember. I watched Tokyo
Oh
Ghoul
yeah,
ages ago.
Suzuya.
Suzuya, yeah.
Let me see if I can pull this guy up.
One of the dubs. So the guys that like the police that kind of kills the ghouls.
The goals, yeah. But it looks so good.
It's
He
the
had
it's
like
the
the
it's like the
suspenders.
short
So the
kid
guy
with
with the-
the long hair, and he's got the clips on his hair, and he's got like
Yeah.
all these cuts in his arms and his neck, like these tattoo cuts
Yeah, and he normally wears like a white smart shirt.
Yeah.
with like red suspenders on. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
went
can
as
see it now.
I was doing that as my cosplay last year. We
Yeah,
we
it's
Okay.
basically had like we booked out like an Airbnb to have like a
Mhm.
pre party, and then there was this Halloween party going on in London. So like we had already booked tickets to that, so we all like went last year to that
yeah.
one. It was pretty good
And to be
actually.
That's
honest, I
sick.
think in London it's celebrated, but I think in other areas it's celebrated a lot more, like Halloween. Have you
Yeah.
seen the celebrations in Tokyo, in Seoul?
I
It's on
heard
another
in
level.
Shinjuku it's crazy for Halloween.
Yeah,
I'd love
like
to
I
go
couldn't
Halloween
imagine Soho
there.
or like Shoreditch packed like Shinjuku.
Well, I think it still gets pretty busy. I mean, I normally for Halloween don't really do much. Like, I normally, my tradition is to just kind of like stay at home and watch a scary movie and hand out the candy, because normally my family aren't around during Halloween, so that's normally my
You
job.
actually hand out candy?
Yeah, well, I mean, so when I lived in Qatar, Qatar has a really large American population. Like, most of the expats that live there are American, so Halloween was a really big thing, and I went to an American school. so they took it pretty
Right.
seriously. So yeah, I was normally in charge of doing that, and my parents usually went out for dinner or something that night, and then I would kind of either take my younger siblings trick or treating when they were younger, or stay at home and hand out everything. Um, the most memorable costume I've ever had is I went as a grape one year. So I got one of those
As a grape.
purple. Yeah, I got one of those purple full body suits.
What the
And I
hell?
was just a
What?
grape.
Why
Yeah,
grape?
yeah. I don't know. I just like I wanted to get one of those. You know those full body suits that like cover your face.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went as a grape.
Oh wow. Okay.
That's actually quite
Yeah.
hilarious. That's an
probably
interesting
mischievous.
idea.
I went as that and a lumberjack. Like lumberjack is my my go-to, I think.
What, just like
Lumberjack.
a normal lumberjack?
A lot of people go
Well,
as
yeah.
lumberjacks.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty easy because you just need a flannel shirt, a beard, a beanie, probably some khakis or some jeans, and an axe, and you're
Or
a
like
lumberjack.
overalls.
Yeah, something like that. You know, so
Like
that was
jean
normally
overalls, like some kind of like boots, maybe like
yeah,
Timberlands or
the
something like
lazy
that.
go-to.
Yeah.
That's lazier than face paint.
It works.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I
if
like
it works, it works.
I guess
But yeah.
I realized like, because when I used to live in Austria before I moved here in 2007, we
Mm.
used to trick or treating was a bigger thing in Austria. I realized than it was here. Like once I moved here,
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think I've ever properly gone out trick or treating. Like people just don't do it. I guess it's also depending on like the area. I live in like
Yeah.
Ilford
You might get
area,
stabbed.
so like Ilford area is mostly like Asian people and like a huge
Yeah.
like Muslim population, right? So a lot of like strict Muslim households, they don't believe in Halloween, like as if
They
they
think
they
it's
really
bad. Yeah.
integrate religion into this kind of like fun thing, because like they say stuff like, oh, it's like to do with the devil and stuff like that, but it's just for kids, you know.
Yeah. I get what you mean.
But it's understandable because it's if they're strict Muslims, then it makes sense. But it's
Yeah,
just
I think it depends on the culture. But to be honest, I
Yeah.
never necessarily watch too many horror films, even though I love Halloween. Like, I
Oh
just love
yeah,
the
I don't like
atmosphere.
them.
Yeah, like one day in the year, you can literally do anything you want. You can go out, dress up. Like, everybody it just feels so relaxed and fun, like the environment. Obviously, there's Christmas,
yeah.
but Halloween is a bit more of a fun, scary kind of
It's a bit
time.
more party rather than
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah,
a bit more like
exactly.
family.
It's definitely more Halloween's more of a party vibe, at least in London, is what I feel like. I don't know, different areas might do, like different boroughs, different neighborhoods might celebrate Halloween differently, but like overall, I think it's more of a party, go out, like dress up kind of thing, rather than traditional go to people's houses and trick or treat for fun,
Yeah.
you know?
Well,
Yeah.
for this Halloween, let's let everyone know what we've been up to.
Nothing.
What have you guys been watching? Because I know that we've all been watching some scary anime.
All
some horror
right.
Anime.
Yeah, I feel like you get fun horror anime,
Yeah.
and then you get a bit more uncomfortable horror
Really
anime,
uncomfortable.
right? So I feel like some of the fun horror anime is probably Soul Eater, the biggest one that I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
think of
Oh,
right
Halloween
Yeah.
themed. It's very Halloween
Yeah, that's
themed.
really Halloween themed.
now. But then I also think like you know the recent release Jujutsu Kaisen, you could
Yeah.
easily watch that on Halloween.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's a
Not
Hey,
that
there's
there's
even
enough
Demon Slayer.
episodes.
It's a pretty like Halloweeny kind of it's not scary in terms of like spooky and like, you know, you get scared
just a
and
Halloween
fear. It's just
vibe.
like like a Halloween, like kind of like Tokyo Ghoul. You know, you get the
Yeah,
like
Tokyo Ghoul
monsters
could
and
definitely
stuff.
be a Halloween vibe.
Yeah,
I think in like, you know, for like Jujutsu Kaisen and like Tokyo Ghoul, the manga is a lot more creepy looking. Like it has a lot more like
Okay.
gritty and dark feel in the manga
Yeah.
than in the anime.
And especially because it's all black and white, so
Yeah.
there's a lot more
And
emotion conveyed, I think, through those lines than there is in full color.
the characters
Yeah.
look a lot darker as well in the manga compared
Yeah.
to like the
and I
anime.
think it's because you're focusing on it as well. You don't really have any sound, music, nothing. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
your whole like mind is focused on it, and if
That's
you do
true.
see like a creepy image, it just has a bit more of an impact.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I can talk about my horror kind
Yeah,
of
go for it, go
Halloween
for it.
anime.
Let us know what you've been watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I think a lot of people have heard of this. It's called Helsing, right?
Yeah,
Oh, right,
Hellsing's
yeah.
classic.
Yeah, it's a classic. Okay. A bit of information around it. It was originally released in 2001, so it's 19 years old.
Oh, no
Okay.
It's
way.
pretty old.
And then they remade it in 2006 into 10 1-hour special episodes, and they called this Hellsing Ultimate. Okay, and Hellsing is a well-respected horror anime. Obviously for its story,
Yeah,
its animation at the time, and I think for its voice acting, because the voice
that's
acting
true.
inside Hellsing is amazing.
That's
There's a guy
true.
called Alucard, the main vampire,
Yeah.
and Anderson. Honestly, they're phenomenal. Like, I would just go on YouTube their voice acting because they're amazing. But yeah, I will describe Helsing to you in a couple of sentences and let me know what you think. Okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
go on.
So the story is basically about an army of Nazi vampires who wage war on the UK in order to kill this legendary vampire called Alucard, right? And he's from the Helsing organization. And at the same time, there's a secret sect from the Vatican called Iscariot, which is
Okay.
basically made up of crazy crusaders. And they basically attack England at the same time
Mm-hmm.
in order to cleanse it from their religious point of view.
Have you
They
ever
want to kill all
noticed
the
that
zombies.
so many of these anime and manga focus on England and like Victorian England?
Is Helsing
To-
an English character? Like Van Helsing?
Um, well, I'm not sure about that,
Like
but the story is set in England.
the initial, like, you know, because obviously like Helsing isn't exactly a original concept or an
Well,
original
Van is
character.
normally like Northern Europe, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like they always have it in like Transylvania and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit too cliche to have it set in Transylvania.
No, I've seen a lot more of the like animes set in England or in a
Yeah,
British scene.
it's a
So
weird,
like
it's a weird thing.
that's why I was like kind of questioning whether
I think
it's
the
an
older ones
English character.
definitely.
JoJo as well was set in England, wasn't it, with that vampire story?
Which one?
I swear JoJo season 1 was set in England, was it not?
Oh yeah, JoJo is it's set in
Yeah.
England. I think the old school ones definitely had a bias towards England.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's such a weird thing.
Especially like
But
the
yeah,
Victorian era, right?
Yeah.
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 So Helsing is like it's a war that takes place on 3 different fronts, and you just follow Alucard through this. Yeah. So just from me telling you about those sentences, like this few sentences I described it with, you can tell it's a mental anime, right?
Yeah.
There's a
Like
lot
it's
of
got
war going on.
Nazis.
Yeah, it's
Nazis.
such a weird anime.
Come on, it's got zombie Nazis. Like what the hell? And also like crusaders.
Yeah.
Yeah, like these religious crusaders. It's just whack. Okay, and I think definitely it's a Halloween horror anime. So it
Yeah.
has vampires as the main kind of enemy. Lots of blood, gore, and by this I kind of mean like heads falling off, limbs
Yeah.
flying everywhere. Right. I think the first scene is Alucard literally walking and getting shot down by machine guns. Right, and his
Yeah.
limbs are flying everywhere. Okay,
Jesus.
Yeah, I
so it's
remember
not
that
really
scene.
for the faint-hearted.
It's very gory.
And I think it's very very gory, and I think this probably falls among a bit more of an uncomfortable horror, but I
Yeah.
think you'd definitely be able to watch it during Halloween, right? It's really great at building terror, because the vampires are just shown to be super strong, right? They can literally kill humans like in a matter of seconds, and humans don't really defend themselves against the vampires. Only vampires can kill other vampires. So
Sounds
there's
pretty.
a real sense of like terror
Yeah.
and helplessness.
I mean, it sounds pretty
Right.
impossible to kill them the way you describe the vampires. Like, you know.
Yeah, I think it has all the right elements of a horror,
Mm.
right? Um,
Did you
And
genuinely
yes.
find it scary though?
to be honest, I didn't find it scary. I found it more uncomfortable
Yeah, I know what you
and just
mean.
gory, and
But
very
it has
just
the Halloween
bloody.
vibe.
Say that
Yeah,
again.
it's got the Halloween vibe for sure. And I think the character design, like one of the main things I like is Alucard. So he's a
Alucard is
vampire,
sick.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of anime, the vampire is kind of just shown as, oh, he just grows his fangs, but he's just a normal guy or normal looking, like
Yeah,
natural,
and they normally make
good
them
looking
look
guy.
very attractive, like the
Yeah,
Twilight
and he's
syndrome.
got like bare girls around him, etc.
Yeah.
But I think in this anime, Alucard, he's literally a monster. Some of the scenes, he's like licking blood off the floor. His body is contorted. The way he moves, how he just wants to massacre everyone. And even the art style as well, he doesn't look human or vampire.
Yeah.
Sometimes in some of the scenes, he looks really crazy. So I think
Mm.
this really helps. And on top of that, he's so overpowered. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, you can't kill him. And I feel like
On
the
top of
best
his.
example I can use, right, to describe this is when you're playing like COD or League of Legends
Yeah.
or even Valorant, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's always that one guy that kills you and you have no idea how they're killing you, right? That's basically Alucard. He's just OP. Like you're thinking, oh, is it lag? Am I lagging? Is it the server? No, there's
Yeah.
just they're much better than you.
I
And
was
this is
gonna say
Alucard.
on top of his really cool design, his gun is a standout feature. That's a really famous part of his character.
That's
Yeah, he's very iconic.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I've definitely seen a
Yeah.
lot of people cosplay him back when I used to go to like Comic Con and stuff. So I have definitely seen his like cosplay and like the
His
gun. It
character.
definitely does stand out for sure.
Yeah. And even some of his abilities are really creepy. Like he has
Mm.
like centipede abilities. His body just disappears.
Centipede.
He controls blood. There's eyes popping out everywhere. And
Oh
he's
yeah, I
so
remember
OP.
that.
I think the best way to describe him is just like he's built different.
Built different. What is he? Some kind of Ichigo?
100 emoji.
Well,
But yeah,
if you
his
compared him
presence
to
is
like,
good.
since you said OP, if you compared him to like, Ichigo from Bleach, what kind of OP is he? Is he in a way like bad OP or good
Why are we
OP?
comparing to Ichigo, dude? He's like nothing.
Because you said OP, right? And if he's OP from the very beginning, is it an enjoyable overpowering, or is it like how Ichigo builds it, and it's just like you don't want to see him anymore? Because I feel
Oh,
like a lot of
from the
people.
start, Alucard's from the start is OP.
So it's like it's an
But you don't really
enjoyable.
know too much
It's an en,
about what he's doing.
it's an enjoyable thing to watch him being
Yeah,
overpowering,
yeah,
right?
because
Yeah,
you don't know his backstory and you don't know how he became that strong. And
Yeah.
right,
slowly
right,
over the episodes, it reveals more about his background and about his life, like his previous life, and how he became this kind of immortal vampire.
right.
So out of 5 pumpkins, how much do you
5
rate
pumpkins.
Hellsing
Five
as
pumpkins. Are we
how much
actually
do
going
you
to keep
rate him?
count this time?
I'll try and keep count this time. I forgot last time. I'll try and keep count.
Yeah. I'd probably give it a solid 4 out of 5.
Fair
It's not
enough.
bad. That's
And
not
one
bad.
thing I would probably say about it that I really liked about it is even though the anime is really good at building tension,
Hmm.
Mm.
it's really good at breaking that tension because it has these scenes where the art style completely changes.
Yeah.
Everything turns pretty cute, and things just look pretty dumb. Like it feels out of
Yeah.
place.
It's like a
Like
humor.
yeah, and this is what I'd expect from something like Naruto. Like Naruto has
Mm.
that kind of scenes, but then you're getting in Hellsing where
Yeah,
they're
that's
literally
true.
about to like kill each other. There's like heads flying off, their blood everywhere, and then this scene pops off,
Yeah.
and it's so good at breaking tension. So it's very enjoyable.
Sounds like a pretty good thing. I haven't myself watched Hellsing. I've got it in my like list to watch. I'm probably gonna watch it over the Halloween period, like over the next week.
Fair play.
Yeah, do it. So 4 pumpkins, yeah.
Yeah, 4 pumpkins for that
Four
one. We'll see if we get any that beat 4 pumpkins because that's pretty high.
pumpkins.
I think I might have one.
Go on then.
So the one that I watched that I heavily recommend is probably the Junji Ito collection. So a bit of background on Junji Ito. He's kind of
Amazing.
known as the the godfather of horror in Japan, especially for his manga and anime work. Just incredibly creepy, and this is definitely one of the more uncomfortable horrors rather than fun
Scary.
horrors. Yeah, so I watched quite a few horror, creepy anime, trying to get into the Halloween vibe, trying to get into the Halloween spirit. But the Junji Ito collection episodes were the only ones that actually made me. I don't know. It's the type of thing that kind of makes your hair stand up on certain scenes. And
Yeah.
I remember specifically the one that I disliked the most, or the one that got me thinking the most, was I think it was episode 2. There's this episode with this really weird model, and I don't want to go into it too much because I know that you guys haven't seen it, but the story was it
It's
was a
okay. You
lot.
can speak about it. I
It
don't
was
think
it
I'm
was a
gonna
lot.
watch it.
Oh, okay,
I don't really watch horror.
okay.
I've
So
I've read it,
um,
so I think I kind of know what you're talking about.
oh yeah. So the character's name is Fushi, and she is quote unquote a model, but really, it doesn't really explain whether she's human or a monster. But there's a guy who seems to be having some bad luck that day. He's the main character of that episode, and a lot of these are short episodes, so either half an episode or an episode. But this one's half an episode, but it had a
Hmm.
lot of impact, in my opinion. So he's just walking along, having his bad luck day. Trips, hits his head, whatever. Starts off kind of like a slice of life or like a Psyche K episode. And as it progresses, he sits down in a cafe, opens a magazine, and he sees this really weird looking model. And he thinks to himself, oh, she's disgusting. I think he said she's disgusting or something along those
Okay.
lines.
Does
And
she
he puts
become
the
his
magazine
nightmare?
down. Yeah, so he starts seeing her in his dreams and he starts waking up in cold sweat.
Damn.
And he's
Just cold
actually,
sweats.
yeah, just cold sweats, nothing else. And the thing that sticks out, or the thing that they keep focusing on, is her eyes. They're really bloodshot and small and piercingly blue. And as the anime continues, you find out that he's a script writer and he's trying to make a movie. So they make a successful movie, him and his uh, movie directing friend, and they start casting for a new film. And they put out an ad saying, now that we've become famous, please try and cast to be the heroine in our role.
Hmm.
And of course, out of the 3 people that submit their application, Fushi is one of them.
Yeah.
And the director friend thinks it would be funny to cast her in the movie just to
Mess with him.
with the friend who was having nightmares about her. So he adds her in, and they drive into the mountains to record the movie. And she
What kind of movie is this?
I don't know what the movie was about. It doesn't even go into it. They just have the quote unquote attractive heroine and then her as a weird comedic backup or something.
Okay.
Right.
And you start to see that she's a monster in the car because she starts laughing and her fangs start coming out. And then as
Jesus.
it continues, it does a good job of not really focusing on those like cliche style horror elements, but it just keeps focusing on her eyes, her really weird bloodshot eyes, the whole anime or the whole half of an episode. And the reason I'm talking about this episode so long is because this is the one that stuck out the most to me, and I couldn't believe that it was only half an episode and it had that much impact.
Hmm.
And of course, it ends on a cliffhanger. You don't really see what happens to the main script writing main character, but she eats 2 of the crew members, including the
Oh.
main heroine, because she was
Some
getting more
weird
screen
shit.
time than her. And 2 of the guys run away and leave him, and she looks at him, and it zooms in on her eyes, and it kind of goes black for a second, and it says, "Finally, we're alone," and then it ends, and then it's the
Oh,
next
shit.
half of the episode. And the next half was also quite interesting. It was, I mean, they're all really, really interesting stories.
Hmm.
The
Yeah.
one I disliked was probably episode 1 the most, although I think that character appears the most in the opening. It's
Right.
a
So
guy
would you
called Soichi.
recommend it?
Oh, 100%, yeah. The more, like, all of the episodes are just really, really good. I mean, episode 1 is still very good, but it was probably my least favorite.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I have a question. Yeah. I want to know what's going in Junji Ito's brain to write all this kind of
I've
stuff.
got no idea. I mean,
From
so the second half of that episode is completely different. So he's writing all kinds of stories.
Yeah.
The first one is a bit occult. It's about a guy who puts curses on people. That second half of the the first half of the second episode is that weird monster woman, who's on the cover of quite a lot of his work, and she's broadcast quite a lot. So I
Yeah.
think that was
Have
a
you
hard-hitting episode.
heard of Uzumaki?
Yeah, I've heard of
that's one of his
Uzumaki.
Yeah.
works, right? Yeah.
It's one of his most popular. I'm not sure if Ramen you've read it. Have you
I
read
haven't.
it?
I haven't read
I
Uzumaki
haven't.
yet. No.
All right, this shit is crazy. Okay, so I got gifted this, and
Yes.
I read probably the first 5 chapters, and I was just feeling so weird, and like I was just thinking like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And the way he builds up like the story, the actual drawings itself, they're probably some of the creepiest stuff I've seen.
Yeah, the drawings are wild from what
Yeah.
I've seen.
And Uzumaki is basically about a town which is cursed. So I think he has a thing about 4 curses.
From
Well,
Right.
it makes sense because it's Japanese folklore, isn't it?
from
Yeah. The weird thing about this is like everything is like circulars in a very circular motion, like spirals,
Hmm.
and it gets onto people's bodies. People start going crazy. It goes to the
Oh
sky.
yeah,
Like lots of demonic curse stuff start happening in
yeah.
that
That's one
town.
of the most famous drawings. The girl with with the
Spiral
circle in
face.
her eye.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
saw it and I was like, oh shit. I haven't finished it. I'm not really a big fan of horror, so I'm not
Mm.
sure if I'm gonna. But if someone does really like horror, I'd recommend it.
Like
Yeah, for sure.
going back to what you were asking about what goes on in like Junji Ito's head, right? I've read that his style of horror, obviously from what we've talked about, it's not your conventional horror, right? Where there's
Yeah.
vampires or kind of like murder, ghouls, monsters. From what I've read, he works with like the human psyche, emotions and
Mm.
phobias. That's why when
Mhm.
we read his like works or when we watch his works, we start to feel uncomfortable. He really like
Yeah.
focuses on
Oh
making you
wow,
more uncomfortable and think about your fears
he's
rather
doing a good
than
job.
just like
Yeah.
jump scares. You know how when you watch horror movies, it's more the sound and the jump scares. His one's more
Yeah.
everything's in your head. That's why. So
Mm.
you know how Ross, you were talking about the second episode, like the first half of the second episode. To
Yeah.
me, it sounded more like he was making jealousy into a horror thing, because she was jealous
Yeah.
of the other actress for more time. She's
Yeah.
jealous. I guess it's a way of exploring jealousy in a really
Mm.
twisted kind of way.
That's true.
Because from about talking about Junji Ito, I read the what's it, Human Blimp or Human Balloon, I
Mm.
think it's what it's called. And the
Mm.
story is about how people see themselves. So the monsters aren't your typical vampires, your typical like horror monsters.
Yeah.
They're yourself as like an inflated blimp. Your head is inflated, and the blimp is the line that connects to your body and the blimp head
Yeah.
is a noose around your neck,
Oh
and
damn.
you trying to fight kind of yourself. And when I read it,
Yeah.
I was just like, this is so creepy and
Yeah, this is whack.
so very
Yeah.
like psychological in a way, but it's
Yeah.
so good at the same time because it's not stuff that you read. I think that's why he gets titled as like the best horror mangaka
Yeah.
out there,
Yeah,
of like people
Yeah.
making horror style like animes or mangas. He is one of the
And
best, like the leading man to do it.
he does other things as well. So that second half of the second episode, the story is completely different, and it's not really. It's questionable whether it's horror or not. But basically, it's about a guy who has dreams that increase in length every time he goes to sleep, and
That
it ends
sounds
up being that
weird.
he lives for 1,000 years through his
oh
dream.
wow.
And that was a story that wasn't necessarily, as you said, it's kind of exploring the human psyche,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
it's not in itself scary, but the idea that you might have a dream that lasts 1,000 years and you wake up and eventually the guy who has these dreams crumbles into dust because his body can't sustain living for 1,000 years while he sleeps and then living a whole day when he wakes up.
It's the thought
But
of
yeah,
that that's scary.
yeah, it's just interesting. Like this guy's brain is on a different level.
I wonder what his hobbies are.
Fun
I've got
fact
no
about him
idea,
though,
man.
he used to be a dental technician before he became a full like manga artist, a full mangaka.
Really?
Yes, he. I read up
I
about
think he
this.
must have seen some crazy teeth.
Like
He must have been doing a lot of morphine,
he
man.
used to work in the dental sector, and while he was working, as a hobby, he started writing manga. And one of his like really early written works is considered one of the best, but it wasn't considered by other manga artists as manga because he's not a mangaka. He's a dentist. So
Mm.
people like
So
pushed
he's
him
a
off.
hobbyist.
And then like
Okay.
Oh wow.
he stopped being a dental technician and started doing manga for a full-time job. And that's when he became really popular and got like accepted into the community, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah.
So just to talk about the Junji Ito collection a little bit more, um, animation studio was Studio Dean, which is quite well known. The story itself, the stories within the 12 episode collection are animated excerpts from his books that
Hmm.
were recreated as an anime, and they're scattered throughout the 12 episodes either as a full episode or half episode, or sometimes even just a 10-second or 1 minute clip at the end of an episode. So there was one episode that ended that just had a minute or 2 minutes of a story just at the end. So they're quite fragmented, split up throughout the episodes, and it also includes 2 OVAs. And if you have Crunchyroll, I think it was originally broadcast on Crunchyroll, and it's still up on there. But obviously you can watch it on whatever anime streaming site you want.
Yeah. So how many pumpkins?
I think it's a 5 pumpkin one.
So
In all
just to get this
honesty.
straight, the pumpkins are the rating, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Oh, okay.
stars, like 5 stars. But yeah, I think that one's definitely a 5-er.
I would.
And I think probably all the manga that it's based off of could also be a 5 pumpkin.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Because when I read the Human Blimp or Human Balloon, because it has 2 different names for some reason, I'd definitely give it a 5-star for the horror aspect, because it's a horror manga, right? And not a lot of, I
Yeah.
guess, horror mangas have that kind of creepiness and like fear about them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely incredible. And just to go into that, the day that it was released in 8 languages. So they obviously expected it to do very well.
8 languages on the day.
Yeah, on the first day. So they already went through and dubbed it.
That's
or
pretty
subbed
cool.
it in 8 languages, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Just to know that your work will be worldwide and people actually end up loving it so much.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
crazy.
that's the anime, right?
Yeah, that's the anime.
Well, I think it's probably because the manga was best-selling, right?
Yeah, exactly. But that's
So
what I mean.
then-
He's so good that they anticipated the anime to do that well that they need to release it first day in 8
Mhm.
languages for people to enjoy.
Yeah. So I feel like Junji Ito is more like the horrifying anime
Oh yeah,
and the
definitely.
manga. I have one recommendation, which is a bit more of a fun anime,
Right.
but it's still horror, right? It's a Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress.
Oh, I love Cabaneri,
Yeah?
man. I love it.
Don't know what that is.
Or Roman, you haven't seen it?
No, I haven't. I actually, thinking back, I haven't watched a lot of, say, horror animes, because there isn't that many.
Yeah.
The ones that classify themselves as horror end up not being horror, like Tokyo Ghoul and stuff.
Yeah, to be
that
honest, this
sort.
is the same. It's
This is
it's
a
not really
zombie.
horror. Yeah, this
It's
is
not
more around
conventional
zombies.
horror. It's more gory,
Yeah.
kind of monster related, rather than
Yeah.
horror.
Yeah.
So Cabaneri with the Iron Fortress, definitely recommend you to watch it, Ramen. I think you'll like it a lot. Yeah. So released in 2016 with Studio, so you already know it's going to be good.
You know it's going to be good.
And it came out with 12 episodes,
Mhm.
but recently they started releasing them in films.
Films.
So they released 3 films, and the first 2 are basically the anime in 6 episodes.
Mhm.
So the film is around, I think, an hour and a half. I'll definitely recommend watching the films instead. It just leaves
Okay.
much more of an impact.
Right.
It's easier to watch. You can probably just watch it in 2 days. It's like an hour and a half each.
I believe
Right.
when I watched it, I was watching it weekly as it came out.
Yeah, same.
Mm.
But I feel like there's a different experience weekly, and when you watch it in the film,
Oh yeah, for
everything
sure.
just like flows that
I'm
bit
sure it
better.
must go better.
Yeah, and you can just feel more engaged. So yeah, Ramen, I'd say right, if you like Train to Busan, you'll like this.
Oh,
It's a
I
very
enjoyed Train to
similar
Busan.
concept.
Yeah. So I think there's something about a train fortress being the last safe place in the world, which is full
Yeah, they
of
love that.
zombies. Yeah, or in this case, carbonate. So they call the zombies carbonate, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And the carbonates are just running around everywhere, taking all the forts, killing everything. And the last safe place is these
This
separate
moving train.
train station fortresses and these trains. So this is like an environment I haven't really seen in anime before.
Yeah.
And we even get like samurai with swords and steam powered guns. So this is kind of like a
Steam-powered.
feudal zombie samurai anime mixed
Yeah.
with steampunk.
Yeah, it's definitely got that
Yeah.
steampunk element.
I
Yeah,
like
exactly.
the steampunk stuff. It looks really cool.
I feel like this kind of stuff is not really seen too much in anime.
It's definitely original.
Yeah, for sure. So shout out to the anime. It's really good. So the story starts off with the main character called Ukuma, right? He's
Mhm.
the main character.
Mhm.
He's really motivated to kill the Cabernet. Like you'll find out why. And he's the type of guy who wants to fight, right? And I love his character because he's actually innovative. right? He has that determination to actually even go and build out his own weapon
Yeah.
to kill these Cabernet.
Mm-hmm.
And he always puts like people above himself. And he has that kind of motivation to
Yeah.
like strive forward, right? So it's probably sounding like a shonen, but I think this is a bit more of a
Yeah.
seinen
He's almost
potentially.
Naruto-esque in the way that he thinks.
I think he's this is something very controversial, but I think his character is a bit more developed than Naruto's.
Oh, no. I completely agree, but I just mean in the way that that type of shonen stereotype plays out. That's
Yeah,
the kind of way he thinks, like, I will be the greatest savior of humanity. I love everyone. I'll put everyone above me.
but
That type of
he's
thing.
very realistic though.
Yeah.
And I think my favorite scene, right, is he basically it's not a spoiler, but in the first like 10-15 minutes he gets bit by a Cabaneri.
Yeah.
And he stops himself from transforming. Yeah, this is
Mm-hmm.
like the
Yeah.
core part of the story, so it's not
And I
really
think
a
he's one of
spoiler.
the only people to ever do that.
Yeah, he's like a natural kind of Cabaneri, so a mix of
Yeah.
Cabernet and human, right? So he's jumping on the last train that's leaving the station, and the whole fortress is infested with zombies. But they basically kick him off. They shoot him off because he's got like zombie marks on him, like he's clearly been infected,
Yeah.
right? So instead of kind of like hating them or just going away or just like disappearing, when the train gets stuck and they need to kind of pull a lever outside, nobody really wants to go outside, but
Yeah.
Ikuma is already outside,
Yeah.
right? And he's fighting off all these cabinet, right? And he makes like a really, really good speech then. I think he says something along the lines of, watch the man who you abandoned, who helps you escape. Yeah, and
Throwing
I'll be
shade.
laughing at you from hell.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a badass main
Yeah.
character. And the way he shouts it with so much emotion,
Yeah.
right? And the soundtrack is going mad. The soundtrack is also
Yeah. It's really
phenomenal
good.
in this anime. Definitely love that part. And right after that very emotional scene, which is like a lot of action built into it,
Yeah.
sacrifice as well, the whole scene just goes silent as the train starts to leave. And he's obviously not on the train. And he's like on his knees and he starts crying. And I feel
Yeah.
like it's such an amazing, feels inducing scene from a
Yeah.
character. And you can already tell how complex this character is just from the
Yeah.
first like 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
yeah,
He's
this
definitely a lot
anime is
more.
probably one of my favorites.
He's a lot more than just a regular shonen, but I just meant that kind of sometimes that ideology comes out because at the end of the day, it is a bit of a shonen
It does
at
definitely give
times.
that kind of vibe, you know, being a
Yeah.
heroic person in that
Yeah.
sense.
It's definitely like a ride to watch as well. Like in the first 15 minutes,
yeah,
like
for
a
sure.
station gets attacked.
Yeah.
He gets turned into a carbonari. There's like a mad dash to the final train and to escape
Yeah.
this whole city. And
Sounds pretty cool though.
even after, even after this kind of plot point, right? There's even elements of like Attack on Titan, which I thought was
Yeah, I
funny.
know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah, because there's like massive zombie masses being controlled
Yeah.
by one person, and they're basically
Yeah.
breaking into forts and killing people. So I thought that
Yeah.
was like very reminiscent of Attack on Titan, but it was still
Yeah, for
cool because
sure.
it had its own unique aspect.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the way I would describe it is unique. I don't think there's many anime that are similar to that.
Yeah. And there was even another part when he's like prisoner on a train,
Yeah.
and it felt very Snowpiercer esque.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Because
very
they need to get to
similar.
the engine room and escape
Yeah.
and get past all the guards. Like
Yeah.
it was pretty amazing seeing this anime version of it. But yeah, I think it's a great Halloween choice, right? Like
For
along the
sure.
way, we meet different characters, different forts. We also get to meet this character called Biba, who's the shogun's son, and he's
Yeah.
basically a K-pop looking idol with pink hair,
What?
who's on a revenge plot.
Yeah.
And along the way, right, you basically find out more about the Cabernet, the Carbonari,
Yeah.
people's motives. And yeah, overall, I think it's a perfect pick for Halloween. You can watch it really easily. 2 movies, lots of zombies, monsters. Main character is like a complete badass.
Yeah.
Lots of action, and the soundtrack's amazing.
Yeah, it's a solid choice for sure. I really liked it. Aside from it being unique, I think the other reason that I really enjoyed Cabaneri was just because when I was younger, I was absolutely obsessed with zombies. I've got no idea why. I just really liked them. I think it was probably a Call of Duty thing, right
Oh,
when
really?
well, Black Ops with the zombies and everything. I was
Yeah.
just really into it.
Best
And
thing of the time for
um,
sure.
oh yeah, for sure. And I used to read like zombie books. World War Z was actually a book before it was a movie, so
I
that's how
love
into
that
it I was. I
movie.
was reading. Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
And there was like The Walking Dead, and I was reading this zombie manga.
Yeah.
There was a lot that I was into, but
So I have an interesting story actually about zombies. Now that you
Yeah.
okay,
bring it up. So I was shit scared of zombies. Okay, because my first zombie film or experience
yeah.
was 28 Days Later.
Oh man,
Oh,
what
Have
a
you seen
that's
that?
a
movie!
great movie.
So I saw that when I was probably 13, 14.
I know it's not Halloween related, but watch that movie if you have not seen that
Great.
movie.
It is
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
great.
not
So
anime related.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So when I saw it, I got nightmares.
I actually love the
Yeah,
concept
for
though.
sure.
And I avoided zombies for quite a while until I saw The Walking Dead. And I was like, wait, these zombies are completely different. They're literally half dead, walking around. You can probably avoid it.
Yeah.
And then at times I thought, you know what, this kind of world would actually it's very enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, for
Oh, you
sure.
mean the show? I thought you meant the actual world would be enjoyable. I was gonna say that's
As
not
in as
enjoyable.
in shows based on that
Oh
Hmm.
yeah, for
are
sure. It's
enjoyable
super
to watch.
interesting.
I enjoy watching
Yeah.
those kinds of worlds. Like for example, like World War Z. I was hoping they would make a second one, but they ended up not making it, and I was kind of like, oh, it's a bit of a
I think
bummer.
it's just because of the way the book's laid out.
Yeah,
It doesn't open the way to make a second movie
yeah,
because the book essentially speaks about how eventually zombies would die out because they
vaccines
have
and
to
stuff.
disintegrate. Well,
Yeah.
no, it's just I mean they would they're rotting bodies essentially.
All
So
right. Yeah,
at a
yeah.
certain point in time, they kind of all disappear or almost all disappear.
But yeah, going back to Halloween style horror anime, my I would say my first encounter with a horror anime would be
Mm.
Vampire Hunter D.
Okay.
It's a 1985 movie based on
Okay.
the
Okay.
same name manga. It's like it's a really old movie, but I think I watched it when I think it was say 12 or 13, around that
Mm.
age. That's when because I used to watch anime a lot anyways, and that would be the first like horror anime,
Yeah.
and it's based around a vampire hunter whose name is D throughout the whole movie. So
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
you never get his full name. Like it's literally just D and that's it. And
That's
he's
cool.
he hunts vampires as a mercenary, so he's a vampire hunter for hire kind of thing. So he's not your typical hero. He will be
Okay.
heroic if you pay him, and he won't be if you don't pay him, kind of thing.
Does he hate all other vampires?
No, in a sense, because he's half vampire, so he is a tampire. I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
What is that?
So a
Tampire.
tampire, it's spelled
Just
with a
like the blood a
DH.
different way.
They are
Oh.
like folklore half human, half vampires, mainly between a male vampire and a female human, and rarely between
Okay. I
female
thought it was.
vampires and male
I
humans.
thought it was Tampire, like with a T M
No,
T
no,
A M P.
DHAMPIR.
Okay.
It's a very
Okay.
I don't even know how to
Wait,
pronounce
so
that.
he's male and female.
No. He's a half vampire, half human.
So his mum was human and his dad was a vampire.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So
For
he's
some reason, I thought you said he's male and
no,
female.
no. So those types of like half human, half vampires mostly occur between male vampires and female humans, rather
Yeah.
than the opposite way around.
And
Is what I was saying.
what's the world like in that movie?
Yeah, because
It
that manga and anime is set in 1985. No, it's not set, but it's made then.
Yeah,
So
it's
I'm
set
interested
in a
into what kind of
more
world.
it's set in a more Victorian-esque
Mm.
world.
Ah,
It's
Okay.
not in a real life setting. It's a
Okay.
fantasy Victorian-esque world because even the like outfit of the female lead is very Victorian-esque, but also kind of steampunky as well.
Okay.
So it's kind of a mix. But then again, steampunk is based on Victorian style,
Mm.
Victorian age style. but it's initially just a story of him getting hired by a girl who's bitten by a count called Count Lee.
Okay.
And before, she doesn't want to turn into a vampire, so she wants Vampire Hunter D to kill him. And it's just a story,
Okay.
like a huge kind of story within a story, and it just goes on for so long.
Romance.
There is a bit of romance, but D is not that kind of a character where he would fall for the girl, and he doesn't. He's not that like typical vampire where a lot of girls swoon over him, kind of thing. Because he's a lone warrior. He kind of just likes to wander around the earth and get hired to kill vampires. And the second movie is pretty much kind of the same thing as well, but it has more of a lively. So Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, which is the second movie, has
Yeah.
kind of more of a less creepy vibe. It was made in 2000. I think it was made in 2000 or released in 2001. So it has less of that dark vibe than the 80s
So,
movie.
so what do you think sets it apart from other vampire kind of anime?
From the ones that I've watched, it's slightly more vampire related. So it has a lot more, rather than just different monsters, it's very much vampire related. It has a more of a story of humans connecting with vampires rather than just vampires like killing humans. There's more of a human vampire vibe between in those movies. But
So it's like relationships between them.
yeah, relationships between them, seeing like half vampire, half humans engaging with either siding with vampires or siding with humans and those
Is it
kind of
more
more
things.
slice of life?
cliche?
No, it's not. It's not slice of life. I think it's a lot more just action, and they're just creepy character designs, creepy characters,
Oh, okay.
like that kind of thing. Because there's not as much of a like a developed kind of feeling to the movies, in my opinion. It's just a very
Yeah.
straightforward kind of horror, action based anime.
Is it more of a cliche like vampire type story?
There is
Or is it
definitely a lot
more
of cliche in it,
Transylvania?
for sure.
Okay.
There is definitely
Yeah, I could tell.
there's definitely a lot of cliche in it. Like he
But to be
dies
honest,
and then
it
comes
was
back
made
to
in
life.
1985, right?
Yeah, it's an early movie, so you
Yeah.
wouldn't expect that kind of development because everything cliche would
Mm.
be new back in the day, you know.
That's fair enough. He also has a horse, doesn't he? Is the horse also a vampire?
No, it's just his. If I remember correctly, it's just a horse. It's just
Oh,
like
okay.
his
So it has
his
fangs?
companion.
No, it's got horns and red eyes though.
I don't like fully remember everything, but I don't remember if the horse has powers, to be honest.
I
But
just remember that I saw a picture of it when you said that you were going to watch it, and,
Yeah.
and the horse had red eyes. So I thought, is it a vampire horse or what's going on
I
here?
would assume it would be because he also has powers, not just vampire powers, but he has like other special powers as well that he kind of
Yeah.
figures out later on in the first movie.
The graphics look really interesting, though. I really love the kind of 1980s, 1990s anime vibe that you get from those kinds of drawed, like everything's drawn. You know?
Yeah. It's a very cool anime to watch to take you away from all the
Yeah.
modern stuff that we are so used to watching, you know.
Yeah, I feel like it's
Yeah.
probably more of a traditional approach.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And like while I was rewatching it, I thought of, you know what? Since I'm growing my hair out, I obviously won't be able to grow it out as long as the character D, but obviously there's hair extensions. I'd probably be able to
Yeah.
do that next year at some point because obviously we
damn,
won't be able
honestly.
to
No,
do the Halloween like stuff this year.
we got you down
but
as
next
the
year.
Neko guy from Haikyuu. I thought that was going to be your Greek
That would be a
cosplay.
good cosplay, but for Halloween, I'd really would like to go as Vampire D because his outfit's
fair
pretty
enough.
cool as well. He's got like
Oh,
the
yeah,
really
You
well,
get
big
one
someone to
hat.
thing-
go as the red-eyed horse with you.
Yeah, well, one thing I just
Someone's gonna
realized
be the horse. Yeah,
with Vampire Hunter D,
yeah,
the art style of the kind of just the posters and the artwork around it,
yeah,
it's very reminiscent of Final Fantasy.
yeah. So it's not your like, you know how we see anime now. Those characters are
Yeah.
designed to be Western, like, well, white people, rather than your traditional Asian
Because
style
I always loved
anime
the Final
characters.
Fantasy cover art.
Yeah.
It's very reminiscent of this.
Like they're very pointy looking. Like he's very pointy looking.
Yeah,
He has
yeah,
like a
yeah.
Yeah,
really
everything's
sharp,
well defined.
pointy skin, like a
Yeah,
jaw and
sharp.
everything. So it's not your typical what we see in manga characters now, at least, or even
So how
back in
many
the day.
pumpkins?
How many pumpkins you
I'd
giving
give
that?
it 3.5.
Yeah, you know, I was gonna guess that you were gonna give it around a 3. I don't know why. I just
Yeah,
thought it sounded
it's
like a
not
3.
super horror, but it's a good watch. Like when I watched it when I was younger, I thought this is really cool. And obviously, I watched the
Yeah,
second one when it came out as well in 2000. But when I watched it, I thought it was pretty cool. But comparing it to like now and to horror and scary, it's not like super horror. But it's a good watch. It's a very fun
yeah,
watch, I
fair
think.
enough. It's something if you want to throw back, I think.
Yeah, for
If
sure.
you want to watch that old art style.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Actually, speaking of pumpkins, Tala, did you give your pumpkins to Cabineri? I don't think you did.
All right, you
Oh
didn't.
no, I completely forgot.
Okay, let's do a pumpkin for Cabineri.
Probably 5. I really enjoyed it.
I
Oh,
would agree. I think that's a 5 pumpkiner.
Yeah.
I probably would agree if I watched it, but I haven't. I'll
I
after this, I'll
I
probably end up
recommend.
watching it.
Put it on your list.
Yeah, put it on your list.
Probably watch it over the weekend, to be honest.
Yeah.
So one that I saw that wasn't for the list was one called Hell Girl. And you know, because we were doing this special episode, I thought let's search up horror anime and find I don't know a popular listing online.
Yeah. I swear all of those lists are bullshit.
Yeah, so I
They're
thought,
so
you know
bad.
what? Someone's probably going to go on one of these lists after listening to this, or maybe because they want to watch something for Halloween. So let's choose something off one of these lists. And the one that caught my eye was Hell Girl. It
Sounds like
was
Hellboy.
terrible, terrible. Do not watch it, in my opinion. Um, there were some aspects of it that were good, but just the overall story, it's trying to do too many things. And I think that because it tries to do too many things, it can't really do all of them well. I think if I was going to give it a pumpkin, it's probably a 2 or a 2.5. I don't think it was absolutely atrocious. You should never watch it, but I think you should watch it knowing that it's probably going to be quite bad. And if you set that
Hmm.
expectation low, you might be surprised.
Why is it so bad?
So again, it's just they try to do too many things. So they have each story or each episode is set as a different sub story within the overall anime, and across the series they keep so that Hell Girl is a girl
Hmm.
named Ai,
Yeah.
Enma Ai, and there's a few other helpers that are also kind of main characters, but she's known as Hell Girl, and she's she has this vision of this other person that intermittently comes in and out. She's kind of like the conscience or the good in Ai. That's the way I perceived it, and
Yeah.
occasionally some of the other characters can see them. And there's this one character, I can't remember her name, but she's this little girl that follows Ai around, and she's
Hmm.
just the most annoying character. And she's kind of thrown in there to be comedic, like tension disruption, but she does a very bad job. And whoever wrote her parts did a very bad job of trying to make her funny. It's the type of thing where it's like, oh, let me just kick this guy who hasn't done anything, and then he goes, "Ow, my knee," and then she says, "You deserved it because I'm an." It's that type of thing. So there's just these weird things, weird anime cliches that are thrown in to kind of break it up. The majority of the stories within Hellgirl are kind of centered around bullying. Um, quite a large majority of the episodes are this kid's getting bullied, or someone's getting bullied online, or someone's parents are beating them.
Hmm.
It's kind of centered around real life situations, and obviously the audience is more school age, so a lot of it is to do with bullying.
Right. Right.
And the interesting or the part that the anime does well is Hellgirl will send you to hell. So you go on a website and you request
Who
her.
would have guessed?
So you request her to come and send the person that you want vengeance upon to hell.
Yeah.
But the catch is you sign a contract with her that when you die, you also go to hell.
Oh shit.
So all the people are kind of in a living hell, and the way they describe this situation is a living hell.
Hmm.
And so they think, well, at least if I can get out of the living hell for a bit, I can live a real life. But if I stay like this, I'm going to be in hell my whole life, and then maybe I'll go to heaven, maybe I'll go to hell, maybe nothing will happen to me when I die.
Yeah.
To be
So
honest, it
there's kind
sounds
of
like
that
a
internal
shit
debate.
version of Death Note.
Oh,
It is very much like that. But the one part that they do well is after she sends someone to hell, there's a short clip of what's happening to them in hell. And it shows them the first time that they die. So she says, "You will die for your first time now." And it shows you the way that that person is being tortured before they pass away, and when she kills them, they go on the boat across a river, which is quite synonymous with like Greek mythology,
River
the river
Styx.
Styx, and yeah, that type of ideology. So that the scenes of the actual hell itself are actually really interesting, and the way that they make each one tailored to the specific person that's having vengeance acted upon them is really interesting. And I think if they had expanded on that and kind of detracted on this weird cliche background story nonsense and just kept it to 12 completely individual episodes,
Yeah.
it could have done really well. But I think they just tried to do too many things with this kind of sub story within the stories, tying all the
Okay, so
episodes together.
I googled it, and the
Yeah.
most Googled thing about Hellgirl is, does Hellgirl have a plot?
Yeah, it's what I'm saying. So each episode is
That's
completely
enough for
different.
me.
Yeah, each episode is completely different, but there's this weird subplot that goes on throughout the series that doesn't need to be there. It should have just been 12 standalone episodes, in my opinion, and it would have been a lot more enjoyable than having this kind of
Yeah.
stupid
So that's probably
dipping
one
in,
of the
dipping
worst
out.
anime to watch for Halloween.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if they had a compilation of all of the hell scenes, I think that would be interesting. I don't know if that exists, but that might be interesting to watch. I think those scenes were well done, but everything else I don't recommend, and that's why it's gotten a 2 pumpkin. It's not like the worst thing ever you could watch, but I don't think there's enough there to warrant actually watching it for Halloween. So
Hmm.
don't believe these lists that you see on Google.
Right.
Yeah.
So apart from that, do you guys have any other ideas that you would list? Yeah, do you have any other manga, anime, or any anime that aren't specifically horror that you would recommend someone to watch on Halloween? So I know we said Soul Eater earlier, but
Yeah. I would probably say JoJo. So the
okay.
first season is surprisingly very vampire focused, which I didn't expect, because I always thought it was about these different guys with superpowers and they're going on a journey to kind of get revenge or something. That's how I heard of it. But then when I watched the first episode, it has lots of vampire elements.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because there's literally it's the vampire curse, right? It's a stone mask.
Yeah,
Whoever wears a stone mask turns into a vampire, goes and
yeah,
kills and transforms. And then there's also the two strong characters, Jonathan,
yeah,
Joestar, and also Dio.
yeah,
So the first season is literally set with just those two, and every season after it focuses on a different Joestar,
yeah.
so of his
Uh-huh.
lineage. And I
I
feel
think the
like the
first
first
season is
season,
crazy because the time skips like it's as if someone made an anime and just put it in fast forward and you're just watching it being
oh
fast
yeah,
forwarded.
definitely. Like one moment they're kids, right? And
Yeah,
Jonathan's getting bullied by Dio, and then the next episode they're like 18 years old and they're like
yeah.
6'6" muscular
It's like basically
guys
no context
playing
either.
rugby.
You just tune in and they're completely different.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure like everybody knows about JoJo now, probably because of the memes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Um, but I would say the first season is probably a good watch for Halloween.
yeah. You know what? The first 3 seasons are kind of vampire based, so any of them might be good. But the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
season is definitely a lot more cliche vampire horror style. I think the attractive thing about JoJo is that the story continuously changes. Every season is different, and it keeps it really interesting. I think a non-horror one for me that I would kind of recommend is Fire Force. I've told you guys many times that I love Fire Force, and I think just the character design and the fact that people turn into flame monsters. I can't remember what the actual monsters are called, but they just kind of burst into flames. And the main character is called like he's known as the Devil or Devil
Okay.
Boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think his character design is kind of reminiscent of Soul Eater, with the sharp teeth and just the way he looks in general. And I think that could
To
be
be
a
honest,
decent non-horror.
I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about Fire Force. That's why I never started it.
It's incredible in my opinion. I love it. I think it's such a unique story.
Yeah, like it definitely looks good. And I saw the trailer, um, but I think just because of the episodes length, it's about 24, so you got to put a lot of time in it.
Yeah,
I
there's
might
definitely
end
time.
up reading the manga though.
Yeah, the manga would be a good compromise.
Yeah.
So, Tala, do you have any interesting Halloween themed news stories for us this week?
Yeah, I think so. This one is definitely very creepy.
Creepy
Um,
news. I like it.
yeah. So the title of this news story is terrifying monster logo for Osaka's World Fair 2025. Okay.
Okay.
So a World Fair
2025.
is just like a showcase of designs for society, life, and the future.
Right.
So Japan's
Okay.
hosting it, right? It's going to be hosted in Osaka.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a massive competition for them to pick a logo.
Okay.
Do you guys want to see the logo?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Show it to us.
Show it to us.
All right. I'm going to send you the logo. Okay.
Yeah, go on.
For those of you at home, just use this time to search it up for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now tell me what you think.
Oh, you put it on the general chat, I see.
Yeah.
Sorry, how does this have anything to do?
Exactly.
What is this, a
It's so
bracelet?
crazy. It looks like a bunch of eyeballs grouped together, like in a circle by blood or like
Yeah.
intestines.
This reminds me of, you know those bracelets that have those white outline and like the blue eye in the middle? Have you guys ever encountered those
yeah.
ones?
Okay.
That's what it kind of looks like, but in red.
Yeah. But still, regardless, it doesn't relate to the expo.
No,
for
not
Japan.
at all. You know what it reminds me of? I mean, these eyes kind of pop up a lot in anime. It's quite cliche to have a floating eyeball, but
Yeah.
specifically these ones, I don't know. There's just something about them that's so weird anime-like,
It's very unrelated to what the expo is about, though.
completely unrelated. How
So
does this have anything
apparently-
to do with it?
It was inspired by cherry blossoms.
In what
Yeah.
world?
How is this inspired by cherry blossoms?
What did Junji Ito get inspired
By
by?
cherry
Is that
blossoms,
what
like
it is?
what? Why blue? And what has blue got to do with cherry blossoms? I thought cherry blossoms were pink.
I don't know. But yeah, this is just like a horror and confusion.
That is weird
Like,
looking.
Given that it's Japan, I would expect something a bit more stylish or
But who-
cute.
Who sanctioned this? Like, who saw that and thought, "Oh, incredible! Let's put that as the official picture for the expo."
Yeah.
Never mind someone submitting it. People submit weird shit all the time. But
Yeah.
who saw that and just thought, you know what? That's incredible. Let's use that one.
Yeah. So actually, it was picked from 6,000 other logos.
This is
Other
supposed to
logos, yeah.
represent Osaka Kansai.
Were the judges
What?
blind or?
Yeah. So also, it was picked between 5 different finalists. So I'll show
God.
you the finalists, okay?
Please do.
Even got to the finals. Nice.
Yeah. Just open the pictures.
What?
So how is that chosen?
Yeah. The other ones are so much better.
I like the middle one.
I
the
don't
top
get it.
middle one. Or the
I
very
like
right
I like
one.
the top left.
Yeah. So there was like a lot of online reactions towards this. And people are like, the 2025 Osaka Expo logo is trying to say, kill me.
Just finish it in 2025.
Yeah.
No
And
more expo.
there was a lot of resemblance to Mitty
Yeah.
from Made in the Abyss. Have you seen Made in the Abyss?
No,
Oh, I haven't. It's on my list.
Oh, okay. So there's a character called Mitty. Do a quick Google.
Mitty.
Yeah, I'm just searching it up as we speak.
Yeah. Go on.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it was like a
Yeah.
deformed character. It
Yeah.
actually has a very, very sad story.
Yeah.
People are like, it looks like her.
That's so weird. It's just
That's true.
you have all of these other great ones.
Yep.
And they chose that instead.
Exactly.
Jesus.
So the creator, right, Tomotsu Shimada. So basically, they made a statement.
Yeah, what's the
And it
explanation
says,
for this?
I am truly surprised I was selected. I never thought I would become the face of the expo. I think everybody surprised me.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even he didn't realize. I mean, he probably knew that he's just trolling, and just sent this in, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
trolling. I don't exactly want to win this."
Yeah. The thing was, right, I think he tried really hard because he says like his point of view, the artist's point of view on this was it's a bright light of life. That's what the picture is meant to represent, as well as like interconnected cells.
What?
And the shape of it is meant to apparently look like Osaka or the Kansai region.
Okay, I
no
mean,
idea
I'm
how.
not sure what
How?
those regions look like. I'm not very great at geography
Well,
and
I
whatnot.
don't think
Does
that's
not
going to
look
be
like
a good
that.
comparison.
He doesn't even have a proper explanation for it. So it,
Well,
it,
yeah.
it
To be
truly
honest-
means
He
that
just
he
said-
did not
sent
expect
this
to
on-
win whatsoever.
Yeah, I think he just
sent
put
this
it
on
in.
for Bants.
He was a troll.
Yeah, he was just sending it for Bants, and then they were like, "Oh, the artistry."
Exactly. I feel like this is a perfect example of like how some art is really out there.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
it's
yeah.
like I went to the Tate Modern once and there was a bag of sawdust, and I just thought, come on.
Wait, just a bag with sawdust in it, or like
It
a
was literally a
branded bag?
bag of sawdust. No, no, no. I don't know what it was made of. I don't remember what it was supposed to be, but it was literally a bag full of like wood shavings, like literally sawdust.
Yeah.
And this is what this makes me think of.
I'm telling
Was
you,
there anything else around it? Did
No,
they
it's
cut
just
something?
sawdust, man.
I'm telling you,
I don't know what it was supposed to be.
because art has been, I would, in a way, like liberalized, that everyone thinks anything can be art now. Like literally anything. I mean, you guys have seen that bananas taped to the wall, right?
Yeah.
Talk your shit, ramen.
It's just, I just don't understand.
I did see that, by the way. I
I,
did see that banana.
I just don't
Yeah.
understand. Like, I could tape a fruit to the wall, take a picture of it, and be like, "Hey,
But
give
it's
me
the
$1 million."
intention behind it. It's the intention, ramen. You put that orange on the wall with duct tape for a reason.
It's a creativity.
Reason
come on.
doesn't create. It doesn't mean it's art though. You know?
Anyway,
Jeez.
not to shit on the whole art community.
I mean, I'm not
But this-
shitting on the art community. It's just that, like, thinking about how art used to be and how art is now, because everyone's like, "Oh yeah, art can be anything." It's just, it just takes away the whole
I
point
think it
of it.
depends. Yeah. There's obviously different types of art, and I feel as long as you're doing what you enjoy, go and do it.
Well, tune in next time to the theory of art, theory of
Buy
knowledge,
ramen.
anime, real talk.
I mean,
with
at the end of the
But
day,
yeah.
it's my opinion. So I mean, I don't care if people shit
Yeah.
on me for it. But
My
Also-
opinion.
One final thing with the Expo 2025 logo. So here's a bit of Japanese as well. The logo was deemed Kimo Kawaii.
What?
Do you know what it means?
it's cute.
Well,
I know kawaii
is
means cute. Very
Yep.
cute.
So the word in front, Kimo, is creepy. Creepy
Creepy
cute.
cute.
Yeah, creepy cute.
What?
Well, you
Kimo
know, I
kawaii.
I can kind of see that. It's more creepy than cute, but
Yeah.
I can kind of get why.
Yeah, that's like the Japanese word of the week, maybe the whole podcast.
I think you'd be able to sell those as like bracelets, honestly, as like an
You know
accessory.
what?
Probably will.
I think as long as that guy was happy and as long as whoever chose that was happy, whatever. But it does not make any sense whatsoever.
Doesn't
Yeah,
relate
exactly.
at all to what you were explaining the expo to be, honestly.
But yeah,
Exactly.
that was our deep dive on art. And
It's an art theory professor. Russell,
Expo
Professor Ramen,
2025.
Professor Tala.
God.
Yeah.
Please don't submit any sawdust for a review.
Yes, we will not review sawdust, regardless of what kind of explanation you have behind them.
yeah. So I think that's it.
Yeah, I guess that's it for our episode today.
Just to review, two of the listed anime / manga combinations had a 5 pumpkin. Cabaneri of the
Yes,
Iron
they did.
Fortress and literally anything created by
Junji
Junji
Ito. He deserves it.
Basically.
He deserves it. He's done such a great job with the horror manga. He
Yeah, agreed.
definitely deserves the 5 pumpkins for life kind of thing. But yeah, I guess that will conclude our episode for today. Thanks again for
Spooky
listening.
Sunday Halloween special.
Yeah, that was our good Halloween special. I hope you enjoyed it, and we want to thank you again for listening. And you can catch us on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube as well, and pretty much everywhere else.
Yep, our social media accounts are at Anime Real Talk or at Anime Real Talk Podcast for our Instagram.
So if you do want to send any emails or comments or thoughts our way, you can email us at animerealtalk@gmail.com.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
We'll be back again next week. Bye.
Happy Halloween.